Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is the 2 p.m. show. As you can see by the title and thumbnail, it is about Antony. Again, we touched on it a little bit from the morning show, but we've got some more information. Manchester United have released a club statement on Antony and have told the fans and everybody that what they are planning to do with Antony moving forward. So we're going to get into discussions, what we think about it, what we think should happen. Is this the right decision? I saw someone on Twitter say that Man United have more club statements than wins so far this season. They're probably correct. It is embarrassing, but this is where we're at. And if there's allegations, they need to be taken seriously. But is it the right decision? Breaking news, everyone. He's not been suspended. People thought he might be suspended. I think at this moment in time, it's the right thing to do not to suspend him. But if it goes further and obviously evidence comes to light and he gets charged, then obviously you do go and suspend him. But right now, if it's just allegations, I think it's the right thing not to suspend him until it goes any further. But that doesn't mean he's not done it. We're going to get into the discussion. Also, Onana, not sure if he's going to return for AFCON. That's a positive for Man United, and I'd be happy if he did that. But for his home country, and obviously he's got that relationship with the national coach that they might resolve things, so he might end up going there. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. And also the amount of money that Manchester United and the Glazers have paid to the banks. Well, not the Glazers, Manchester United have paid to the banks since the Glazers have been in charge has come to light. And honestly, it's an eye-watering number. But we're going to get into it all today now. So I want to start off with the club statement from Manchester United on Antony and what exactly it entails. I'm going to get it up for you right now here. So the club statement is: Manchester United acknowledges the allegations made against Antony and notes that the police are conducting inquiries. Pending further information, the club will be making no further comments. As a club, we are taking this matter seriously with consideration of the impact of these allegations and subsequent reporting will have on survivors of abuse. It's then come out from the Telegraph. Man United have resisted calls to suspend Antony after allegations that the Brazil winger attacked a former girlfriend. And then Ty Marshall at the MEN came out and said, Man United have released a statement over the assault allegations facing Antony, and Man United refused whether to confirm he's definitely available for selection. So it's an interesting situation. I actually think he will be selected against Brighton if nothing further comes to light and, you know, we're still in the same limbo by that time. I think he will be selected. Whether you think that's right or wrong, you can have your opinion. But the facts of the matter are, obviously it's a serious investigation. The police are conducting the inquiries, and I think the majority of it is happening. I think it is happening in Brazil, the majority of it. There obviously must be something substantial for the Brazilian national team to remove him. Like, there must be something substantial. But I was having this conversation on the morning show, and it really did make me think. If someone just said now, you know, someone accused me of doing something that was obviously against the law, and I was they've just randomly accused me of it, should I be immediately suspended? No, I shouldn't be. There needs to be an investigation into this, and obviously if he gets charged and it has to go to court, then we're in a different situation where I think then he should be suspended. But right now, where he's literally just at the allegation stage and there's no evidence on circling around the internet, because, you know, it gets compared to the Greenwood case. I think it's the right decision not to suspend him in this moment in time, but we'll have to see how it develops. Again, this is always going to have a huge light on it because of what happened with Mason Greenwood. If this was an Arsenal player or a Liverpool player, people wouldn't be calling so much for him to be suspended immediately, and people wouldn't be, you know, immediately jumping onto this case. Of course, if it turns out that he has done these things, it's a massive thing that should be discussed and he should go to prison for it. But we're only at the allegation stage now. So I think because of what happened to Greenwood, it's got 10 times bigger, and it's unfortunate that Man United are in this situation again. But when there's allegations like this, they need to be taken seriously. So you've got to listen to Antony's side. You've got to listen to the girl that is obviously accusing him of doing this, but a decision will have to be made. The decision so far is not to suspend him. It is contradictory a little bit towards what the decision was made with Mason Greenwood, but Greenwood's evidence was out there for everyone to see, and with this Antony case, he's cooperating with the police. It's under police investigation. We'll just have to wait to see if he gets charged based on evidence that is out there. But I wrote down a few notes on this before starting the show because I just wanted to make sure that I conveyed my points in a way that, you know, people understand and they don't get the wrong end of the stick. Obviously, Mark put out there that the Antony decision is interesting. No faith in the way the board makes decisions. I have to admit there appears to be a big contradiction now Greenwood was suspended. And I thought on this situation, it is contradictory in a sense. Greenwood was suspended before it went to went to the police. But at the same time, if there was evidence circling social media, damning evidence, Antony would be suspended now. That isn't the case. There was damning evidence circulating all over social media that literally was proof that, you know, he had done horrible things. So that they had to suspend him in this situation. Whereas with Antony, I'd put it in the same boat as, you know, not that this is right, but with the likes of, you know, Yves Bissouma had allegations thrown against him, so did Thomas Partey. They both weren't suspended, and they carried on playing football until, you know, in the end they both didn't end up getting charged with what they were accused of, and they continued playing football. Whether you think that's right or wrong is up to you, but I would put Antony more in that bracket rather than put him in the Mason Greenwood bracket. It's hard to kind of work your way through the details of each and every individual case, but unfortunately this has been happening for years, and it's been happening for years at Manchester United as well, where players behind the scenes, they're accused of certain things, but if nothing ever comes of it, they carry on playing football, and they weren't suspended. So until Antony is definitely charged, and it looks like this is going to have to go into a court hearing, I think it's a dangerous precedent to just set the standard as, oh, we're going to suspend someone as soon as someone makes some allegations, because then any allegations that are thrown out there, any other player, whatever happens, you would have to suspend them. Whereas it should be put into a court of law, and then the suspension happens. So I think the right decision has been made by Manchester United. I know there's been pressure to suspend him straight away, but it is a different situation, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. Klaas Sorensen says, "Hi Beth, you take if Saudi off to 35. Your take, if Saudi offered 35 to 40 mil for Sancho, yes or no?" I am yes, by the way. Yeah, I would take it. I don't think there's any future for him at Man United, and I think it's going to put a lot of managers off the way he kind of handled that thing with Erik ten Hag. The thing is, I get it. I've seen people in the chat saying hypocrisy FC, hypocrisy Man United. I get where the hypocrisy comes into it, where you think it is hypocritical, because realistically, if you just put it in black and white, it is hypocritical. They've suspended Mason Greenwood before it goes to the police. With Antony, there's allegations and they've not suspended him. But the reason why I think it's unfair to just say you are hypocrites. With Mason Greenwood, there was literally hardcore evidence circulating around the internet. With Antony, we haven't got that right now. He's cooperating with the police, and that's how it will continue. So we'll just have to see what more comes out. I do think, though, there must be some sort of substantial evidence for the Brazil team to pull him out, because you wouldn't just pull him out on hearsay allegations. They're building a case against him. If he's charged, it's a completely different story, of course, and Man United will immediately suspend him. And if it obviously has to go to a trial, then then they should suspend him. But right now, just based off hearsay allegations, the right thing to do is to keep him, I think, playing for Manchester United and be a part of the squad up until we know what is actually going to happen. Someone said, why different treatment for Antony? It's not different treatment. It's not different treatment for Antony, because Antony's not had evidence circle the internet, really damning evidence circle the internet. It's an allegation. And the allegation has to be taken seriously. It might end up coming to light that Antony has done these things, and of course, if that happens, he will be charged and he should go to prison. He shouldn't play. But for now, just to suspend someone based on, I think you did this, that's not the right way that you should do things. We have to wait for it to go through the process. But that's what's happening with Antony. It's a very divisive subject, but that is where we're at. Again, I think if there was solid evidence surrounding it, then the decision would have been different. These cases have been around for years and they've not been suspended. If he gets charged, obviously it's a different story. And then again, I wrote down here, dropping a player based on allegations would be a very dangerous precedent to set without the likes of audio or video footage that we've seen in other cases. Because then anybody can make an allegation, you have to suspend the player. You've just got to kind of, deal with think about where we set this precedent here. Glennie Boy says, even Maguire has still got a court date pending and he wasn't suspended. I know it wasn't domestic, but it was still alleged misdeeds. So yeah, but anyway, that's the situation on Antony as of now. Greenwood's was clear and obvious. Everyone saw the footage. If that was happening with Antony, he'd be suspended as well. And yeah. And again, I wrote down, with Greenwood, there was hard evidence released. Here, there is just allegations with not much substance that we've seen to it so far. We'll have to wait until it develops before, you can think about a suspension. So we'll see how that goes. He's cooperating with the police. We'll see what happens with these allegations? You would like to hope, you would like to really, really hope that these allegations are false and he's not committed these crimes. But we'll have to wait and see, because you've got to take him seriously and they'll have to be judged on that. But let's move on. A lot of people saying there are pictures. I haven't seen the pictures. So I can't comment on that, because I physically haven't seen the pictures and I don't know what the pictures are on this. All I know is that when Greenwood came out, there was visible images, obviously, of the girl that he was with looked like she'd had violent abuse committed towards her, and then obviously there was a voice note that completely just made everyone sick to the stomach. So I've not seen the pictures with Antony. If there was pictures, maybe it could be a different situation, but I've not seen them, so I don't know what they entail. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic of conversation, the Antony one. What I do agree with Mark on is I don't trust the club to deal with this. I think the club made it very clear that they were very poor at dealing with these sort of situations when the Mason Greenwood case happened. The way they dealt with that, I think, was completely inept. The way that the process was dragged out, the way they flip-flopped in their decision, the way they tried to put out different markers to gauge public opinion, the way that they were so kind of blindsided on what the public actually thought about it, the way that, you know, the women's team were kind of brought into it at some part of the case, the way they didn't go and get an independent adjudicator in to kind of come in and do the investigation, which usually happens in the workplace. You go and get an independent investigator to come in. I really do think the way that they handled it was horrible. I think the way Richard Arnold went about it, because he is in charge of this, was very, very questionable. And I don't think it was the right way they went about it. So I don't trust the club to handle it correctly. But at the same time, just because there's allegations come out doesn't mean you should suspend someone instantly. We'll have to see how it goes. But that's the situation now. A lot of people talking about who would play on the right wing if Antony did depart from the team. I mean, that's the discussion that we could talk about, but at the moment that's not the case. I expect him to play, but I'll have to see. But here's one to bring up for you. Coming from Kieran Maguire, Manchester United have paid £900 million in interest to the banks following the creation of debt since the takeover of the club. £900 million. And what I would say on that is, in regards to the amount of money that was paid to the banks, that is Manchester United's money, that is the club's money. That is profit that the club's made. Well, not profit, because, you know, it's ridiculous. That isn't money coming out of the Glazers' banks, 900 million. That is debt onto the club. Debt onto the club that we've inherited because of the Glazers we are paying to the banks. It is ridiculous. So that's one to just really open your eyes. Well, everybody knows that how poor the Glazers are at running this club, that they need to sell. But 900 million is what we paid to the banks. It's a really eye-watering figure when you think of it in the grand scheme of things. Howdy Doody says, she has released multiple pictures since Monday. Are you and Mark avoiding it? Poor journalism on your guys, honestly. How is it poor journalism when I've genuinely come here and said exactly what I think should happen? I've not seen these pictures. I genuinely have not seen these pictures. If I could see these pictures, I would maybe be able to say more on what I've seen of it. From what I have seen on this situation, we've not avoided it. I spoke about it on the morning show, I've spoken about it now. I've said, if Antony is charged and this goes to court, of course he should be suspended. If he's guilty, he should never play again. Of course. But right now, it is at the allegation stage. We don't know what has happened. To suspend someone instantly just based off an allegation without any sort of supporting evidence, I think it's a poor precedent to start, and I'll stand by that. If Mark, for example, if somebody like my ex-boyfriend walked into the office now and was like, Beth abused me, Mark wouldn't just instantly say, Beth, you're suspended. There would be an investigation process, and if it turned out how I had done them things and I was charged with it, then of course I would not work here anymore. But you've got to take into both sides. Just because someone is instantly set allegations doesn't mean that they're instantly guilty, is what I would say on this. And I think that's just how the judicial system works. But anyway, But anyway, we're talking about the Glazers, and this is the thing, people really start to misconstrue things, and it bothers me because I feel like now people are going to misconstrue and be like, Beth, why are you saying Antony should play for Manchester United if he's done these things? I'm not saying that. If he's done these things, of course he shouldn't. But I'm saying it's a really dangerous precedent to set if when someone makes allegations against someone, you have to, you suspend them straight away. Because Antony might not have done these things. That is a part of this that could be a factor. I'm not saying he hasn't, but he might not have. So we'll have to just see how it happens. I've put out there what I think, and Manchester United haven't suspended him either, so we'll have to see what happens. Anyway, Rob Dawson has put out from the ESPN that Andre Onana has committed to returning to the Cameroon national team just for one game. There'll be further talks if they qualify for the AFCON. So, that is an interesting one because I've made it clear, me and Faz had a little bit of a debate on this. Faz is very, players should play for their international teams, it means the world to them, etc, etc. I'm very much in the camp of course, players have the right to play for the international teams. I understand what an honour it is for them, but first comes first for me is Manchester United. Manchester United always comes first. And if Onana chooses not to play for AFCON, that is an absolute bonus for us. And I hope he doesn't. Because if he doesn't, then we get to use him in the Premier League, and I care about Manchester United. If he decides to go, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, I'm so annoyed Onana's gone. Because obviously he has the right to, he deserves to go and play for his national team if that's what he wants to do. But it's interesting that he's only committed to returning for one game. I honestly think they'll probably reconcile and he probably will go to AFCON. You know, as a player, you want to represent your country, but it's still up in the air and it's not a definite yet, is what I would say on this. Finn Shea says, hi Beth, my girlfriend likes to listen to you on the daily. Thank you, Finn, for that, and thank you to your girlfriend as well. I really do appreciate it. What do you guys think about Onana? Do you think he will go to AFCON or not? Do you think he should go to AFCON? Of course, if he has the opportunity to, every player has the right, but we will be missing Amrabat as well, obviously playing for Morocco. He will go to AFCON. I think if the decision is made for him not to go, if he doesn't want to go, I'm very, very happy with it, but I think ultimately, I think he will end up going. Also, some news coming out from Fabrizio Romano that Manchester United want to discuss a new deal for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Negotiations will follow soon, and Wan-Bissaka will give priority to United. Interesting. Also, Fenerbahce are interested in signing Donny van der Beek before their transfer window ends on September 15th. I'll say what I wanted to say on Donny straight away, and then we'll talk about Wan-Bissaka. On Donny van der Beek, he needs to go. He's surplus to requirements at Manchester United. Ten Hag doesn't see him as part of his plans. A lovely guy, speaks really nicely. He deserves to play first-team football. He deserves to get his career back on track. Fenerbahce are a good team with a good fan base. I think he should go, and I think he will go. Playing with Fred as well. Fred is already there, another ex-United player. So I think that is where he should sort of head out to, and I think he will. And it's good news for United because it gets a wage off the books. It also gets a player out of the club that isn't in the plans of the manager, which Donny van der Beek isn't. Howdy Doody says, oh, I'm not reading that out. Total Football says, do you think some of the players are struggling with Erik ten Hag's Dutch training methods? People want an Ajax style at Man United. You don't have the players. Ten Hag said himself he's not trying to create an Ajax style. He's playing different sort of football, and of course he is playing different sort of football. We've seen that. He's not playing the Ajax way because Man United has its heritage, and Man United's heritage is playing attacking football, attacking the Stretford end. We are brilliant on the counter-attack, but we also bring the game to teams with flair, with pace, with transition. And that's exactly what Erik ten Hag says he wants to do. It's not happening at the moment, but it says he wants to do. Whereas with Ajax, it was very possession-based. You know, keeping hold of the ball, that sort of football, intricate passes. And, you know, Man United can do that, obviously, but it's a different sort of football, and he said he'll play a different sort of football. So I don't think it's the fact he wants to play Ajax football at Manchester United, but I do agree with the fact we don't have the players that can play out from the back in the way he wants to. We don't have them sort of players. Obviously, Onana is a massive help, but we either don't have the players to do it, or the players can't do it yet. We'll have to see. At the moment, I'm leaning towards can't do it, but I'd like to hope at their level to be able to learn how to do it, but we'll have to wait and see on that. With Aaron Wan-Bissaka, negotiations for a new deal, I think he deserves it. His improvement under Erik ten Hag has been unbelievable, and that is an example of professionalism, ladies and gentlemen. not bringing out a statement saying he thinks he should play more games, not bringing out a statement being bothered he's being dropped from the team. Malacia was playing it right back over Wan-Bissaka at a certain point under Erik ten Hag, and that point was less than a year ago. Less than a year ago, Malacia was playing a right back over Wan-Bissaka. And Ten Hag, when he got asked about his right back, said, we have Malacia who can play there, we have Lindelof who can play there. And he didn't name Wan-Bissaka. He wanted Wan-Bissaka to leave. The plan was for Wan-Bissaka to leave in January. He didn't rate him at all. Wan-Bissaka got his head down. He didn't complain. He didn't leak to the press. And he proved himself to Ten Hag. He trained well. When he got his opportunities, he performed. And Ten Hag is Ten Hag starting right back right now. Ten Hag clearly rates him because they've got to offer him a new deal. That's exactly how you go about things. The one thing I would say on Aaron Wan-Bissaka is, do I think he has the ability to be Erik ten Hag's long-term right back? Does he have the ability to be a right back for a club that is winning Premier Leagues, winning Champions Leagues, which is where Man United want to be? It's a tough one because I don't know. I don't think he can be the starting right back for a team that is winning everything. I think he can definitely, there's a place from the squad. And I think he's been one of Man United's best players so far this season. I love Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a good player, but I just don't think there's enough attacking output. I just don't know if he's good enough on the ball. I also think he needs to improve, defending from the back post. So there's as much as we like Wan-Bissaka and his last-ditch defending is brilliant and he's definitely got better on the ball. There's times where I see him and I'm like, he needs to overlap. He doesn't quite see it. There's times when I'm like, he needs to come inside and come and collect the ball. He doesn't do it. There's times when I'm like, he could easily put in a cross in this moment. He turns back and doesn't. With Wan-Bissaka, there's still much more improvement needed for him to be the full package. But the player's definitely improved, and I definitely think he deserves a new contract as a chance to stay at the club and keep improving, because even if he wasn't the starting right back, which I think eventually he probably won't be, because I just don't think he has the full package to be a starting right back for a top team winning things, but I definitely think there's a place from the squad. If I'm going to PSG away, who do I want? Wan-Bissaka. Of course I do. I want Wan-Bissaka marking Mbappe. If I'm going, playing against the Vinicius Junior at Real Madrid, I want Wan-Bissaka. There's no other right back I want there. But then again, in the grand scheme of things, you want a fullback that can do everything to a really high level. I just don't think Wan-Bissaka is there yet. And I know he's a fan favourite and people won't like to hear that, but I'm happy he's getting a new deal. But I do think sometimes people get carried away about the quality of our players. Martin Saunders says, Beth, definitely right decision on Antony because people have got to be careful of false claims. Unfortunately, this happens. Yeah, and I'm not saying Antony's, the person that has accused Antony is lying. I'm not saying that at all. We'll have to see how it pans out. But what I'm saying is there's always two sides and you've got to take that into consideration. And if there is evidence there and, it does go further, he'll be charged and, of course, he'll be suspended. He's our best right back. At the moment, of course he is. Of course he's our best right back. And like I've just said, he deserves a new contract. Whether he'll be starting right back in the future, I'm not too sure. Let's actually get a quick poll on that before we round up the show. Will Aaron Wan-Bissaka be Man United's future starting right back for years to come? Is he the type of player that you'd have as your future starting right back? Wan-Bissaka eats Mbappe, says T. Dalot as left back. Yeah, Dalot as left back has been absolutely brilliant, hasn't he? Also, guys, make sure you hit a like on the video as well. Afternoon show in the international break. I'm excited for, obviously, football to come back after the international break, but we've not even had the international games yet. Next week's going to be a long one. I really don't like this break in the season so quickly. I really don't. It kills momentum. United probably need it, to be honest with you, because we are on a poor run and we don't look good. But it's a tough game to come back to, Brighton at home. We've not had our home record tainted since Brighton's first game of the season last year. We've won at home. We're not won at home. We're unbeaten at home, because obviously we've drawn. We're unbeaten at home since Brighton opening day of the season last year. It's going to be a tough one. We need to be on our best form. Also, I've just seen a comment, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to talk about it. Beth has let down the feminist. Just shush. Please, shush. That is absolutely not the case, and I won't have people saying it. I am a feminist through and through. If you look up the definition of feminist, it is equal rights for men and women. That's all it is, equal rights. Of course I'm a feminist. And of course, if these allegations have substance to them, you would want whoever the, perpetrator is, in this instance, Antony, you would want him to be convicted and go to prison. But just because somebody is accused doesn't mean that they have done these things. You have to take it into a court of law. This is why we have it. So I won't be having comments like that. Will Wan-Bissaka be United's starting right back? Get your votes in. I will say now yes, but in the future no. Scented Lemon says that's a challenge for Wan-Bissaka. He will bounce. He bounced back to prove himself again. I hope he keeps that mentality and brings him to the next level. Hopefully, yeah, because we probably will get another right back in. We know Ten Hag's been looking, but then again, I love Dalot, and I think Dalot has more potential as an all-rounder. But it's like, how long do you wait for that potential? If Dalot performed the way he did at the start of last season, the Liverpool game onwards until about Christmas, he would be the starting right back. He was brilliant. But we've kind of not seen that since. But at left back, he was insane. Against Arsenal, one of the best right wingers in the world. Insane performance. It's gone under the radar because we lost. But if we won that game, my man of the match was heading straight to Dalot. He was brilliant. So we'll have to see how he develops there, to be honest with you. For me, better than what Malacia has been. And I know Malacia's injured and stuff, but Dalot was really, really good. But yeah, talking on who would replace Antony if he didn't play, there's been a lot of conversation. It's not really much point talking about it because he probably will. There was this debate we did a Twitter space between whether it would be Bruno on the right and then a midfield of Eriksen, Amrabat and Casemiro, or when Mount's fit, maybe Mount, or whether he would go with Pellistri. It's not going to be Sancho because of what's happened behind the scenes. He's burnt his bridges. I think any manager that brings Sancho back in, they just look weak in that situation. You don't want to look weak as a manager. And I don't think Erik ten Hag will do it. I think, unless they have massive clear the air talks and then Erik ten Hag believes that he wants to start a clean slate and move forward with it, then maybe he might come back in. But I don't think he'll play, or whether it would be Pellistri. I think I would love to go for Pellistri because Pellistri just shows exactly what a right winger should be, and he offers something completely different to what we've had. But also, Brighton at home, it's a really tough game to come into. But I actually think I would probably go with Pellistri and give him that chance. I think he's good enough. But Ten Hag doesn't seem to trust him there. But we'll have to see. Antony's probably going to play because he's not been suspended. Whether he's available for selection is another thing. They have refused to comment on it. But if he's not suspended, I assume he would be. But that is the situation we're at right now, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and getting your opinions across. Of course, it's a difficult subject to cover, but it is news and we do cover it on the United Stand, and this is where we're at right now. And we'll have to see how it plays out. I hope the right conclusion happens, and we'll have to see how it develops. This is going to be a start of a long, long process. And it's unfortunate that we have to deal with this now at Manchester United, but we do. So this is where we're at. But thank you, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your day. As I always said, don't let the worries of Man United tear us down. But do remember, 900 million indebted, paid to the club on interest. Paid to the bank on interest from the club. 900 million paid from the club to the bank since the Glazers bought the club on debt in interest. Don't forget it. It's another reason why the Glazers need to go. But thank you everyone for watching. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll be back for the 8 PM show later on. Make sure you tune into that or any other breaking news. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good one.